Welcome to Kidmissing TV. I'm your host, Angelina Wilson. This is the case of Lori Jean Lloyd. Lori Lloyd was 14 years old. She was babysitting her nephew on the 11th of February 1976 when she decided to walk to a 7-Eleven at 3613 Wilmington Pike to purchase cigarettes. You could do that back then. Just a little more than half a mile from the family home. 3303 Annabelle Drive. I love that name. Kettering, Ohio. She left the baby with her friend. It was a cold night, and she was dressed in a sweater, jeans, and possibly a t-shirt and jacket. She did not take any personal belongings with her except a small amount of money. The small amount of money in her bank account was left untouched. When her mother, Anita Smith, returned home after midnight, she found Lori's friend and the baby asleep. Lori wasn't there. Employees at the 7-Eleven store told police they never saw her that night. No one else has reported seeing her since. She was the youngest of 5 siblings, some of whom helped their mother search for Lori that night. Lori had a history of running away. She even had been arrested. So they did not take the case seriously, the police. The eldest of Lori's siblings, Joni Spencer, said she would go to a friend's house. She would quote, she would go to a friend's house, kind of showing her independence, end quote. They assumed that she ran, even her mother assumed she ran away and called the police and said, "Can you pick her up to teach her a lesson?" But she was never found. Okay. Sadly, the best lead the family ever got was when News Center 7 aired a documentary called Angel Death about the drug PCP in 1980. A girl in the background of one scene filmed at a Santa Monica, California drug rehabilitation center eerily resembled Lori. So, Spencer and Smith, her mother and sister, went to Los Angeles. For weeks they searched for her at the places where runaways were known to gather, like Hollywood Boulevard and the Sunset Strip, but found no one who knew Lori. The girl who was the focus of the filmed scene declined to cooperate with the family. The makers of the original documentary followed Smith and Spencer around, then released another program entitled Whatever Happened to Lori Jean Lloyd. They're no longer sure that the girl in the background of the video was Lori. They did hold a memorial service for her in 1990, 23 years after she disappeared. Coincidentally, just days after Erica Baker, the 9-year-old Kettering girl who vanished while walking her dog in Indian Rifle Park, was reported missing. The difference in how the cases were handled was absolutely stunning to the family. This is a real source of pain, her sister said. Quote, wait a minute. Quote, this is a real source of pain, her sister said. Back then they didn't have Amber Alerts, end quote. They also had a ceremony for Lori on her 50th birthday. Her ears were pierced. There are several scars on her wrists. Okay. I just want to, I'll give you the phone number in a moment. It's right here. Um, when I first read, and even now, that she had several scars on her wrists, that made me think that she had some issues. Perhaps she was a cutter. Perhaps she was depressed. Perhaps she had tried to end her life at some point. Um, those aren't things to be trifled with. And if and you notice I didn't say much about her buying cigarettes because it was the 70s. You could do that back then. We could do it in the 80s. We could go buy cigarettes for our parents. They knew we were buying them for our parents. You know? My cousins and I used to do it. We had a note from my aunt, and we used to go buy her cigarettes. None of us smoke to this day. But, so that's probably how she got cigarettes for herself. Because I'm guessing she smoked. Which, in 1978, not unusual for a teenager. Especially one who had obviously had the problems that she had. A lot of people, especially back then when they didn't know it was bad for you, used tobacco, nicotine, as an anti-anxiety measure. And there was something going on in her life because she had scars all over her wrists. So I really would like to know more background. There really isn't much. She had a tough life, and it's very sad. I'm glad she has at least one sister and a mom who obviously love her very much and want to find her. So, and she was tentatively identified as a doe that we'll talk about in the next case. But it was only by, what do you call it? Dentals, which is not necessarily accurate. So, she was 5'3", 105 pounds. She was white. She had light brown hair, brown eyes. Her ears are pierced. Again, several scars on her wrists, plural. So, again, the doe is still listed up, and Lori is still listed as missing. I guess the Doe Network took Lori down because the family believes this doe is her. But this doe is still up, and Lori is still up missing in a bunch of places. So I don't think law enforcement's 100% convinced. They should take the mother and sister's DNA and compare it to the doe, just to know for sure, so that they can bury her if it's her. But if you have any information, you can call Detective Vincent Mason of the Kettering Police Department at 937-296-2583. That's 937-296-2583. It is very sad to me. So, put this back here. And put Martin back here. Okay.